welcome back to the Tea Party Podcast, the podcast where you find new friends and new music. This week I'm joined by Nashville singer-songwriter Grayson Rogers. And Grayson, thanks for jumping on with me, man.
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And before we get too far into this, guys, be sure to hit that follow, subscribe button, give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. But Grayson, let's talk about you, man. Give us a little backstory. Where'd you come from? Give us like the Wikipedia version of your life.
The Wikipedia. We could be here for a while, bro. Do you want to know music or just a little bit about everything?
Yeah, just a little bit about everything.
Yeah, man. I was born in Virginia, Lynchburg, Virginia, state of lovers. Whoop, whoop, shout out. And then I moved to Pittsburgh, man, when I was about 6, lived there until I was about 12, and then my parents decided that they were done with the snow, so they shipped us down to Florida, and I lived there until I was about 22, and then I moved here to Nashville, and here I am.
Well, and living in Florida, like, you were big into football in high school, right?
Dude, big time, bro. That was my first love, first dream. For sure. Still am. I still live vicariously through the players in the NFL and stuff like that.
See, I love it. So, how did you make that switch from football to music? Because I know that you didn't get into music when you were real young.
Yeah, man. After I graduated high school, I think it was 2011 or 2010. Man, usually it's like that time's like an awesome time in your life. You know what I mean? Like, you graduate high school, you're like, yeah. Not so much for me, man. Like, I graduated high school, and my 2-year girlfriend at the time broke up with me, like, literally like 2 weeks after we graduated, unexpectedly, out of nowhere, bro. And then literally, like, I think like a few days after that happened, my parents decided to separate. And so I was like, and then at the time I was pursuing football, trying to play like semi-pro arena.
Okay.
So I had a lot going on at that time, and the whole family situation kind of, went where it went, and I needed to get away for a while. So I decided to move up. I decided to move back up to Pittsburgh with some family friends, and the whole football thing kind of fell through because it was hard to train up there during the winter and stuff. Whereas Florida, you can train year round. So I kind of just stopped the whole football thing and just kind of started working odds and end jobs and stuff like that. I was working on a market and all this, and the family friend that I was living with, we were sitting in the car one night, and we were waiting to pick up her husband. He was working a night shift at a brewery, and we're sitting there in the parking lot waiting. I'll never forget this moment. It's crazy. We had country radio on, and the song. Do you remember the song "Lover Lover" by Jared Neiman?
Yeah, yeah.
That song comes on the radio, man, and I start singing along, and she just looks at me and she's like, "You're actually pretty good at singing." And I was like, "Oh, really?" She's like, "Yeah, you should try out for American Idol." And I never really, it took like a few days for me to think about it, and I was like, interesting. So I did some like YouTube videos, just goofy little things. And my aunt and uncle are very good singers, and they actually heard it, and they called me up, and they were like, "You have some potential. You should think about doing something with it." And that's where it started.
So, was music always something that you just kind of like, you'd sing along to the radio, or did you really not think anything about it until that night when you were sitting in the car?
So I definitely always loved to sing. Like, I was a closet singer. But I mean, as far as pursuing music or like even singing in front of anybody ever, never thought about it. No, definitely not.
So,
because I didn't think I was any good, So I was just like, I just like doing this, so I'm going to sing the radio.
So
but then when people started validating that I was any kind of good, I was like, well, I do love singing, so let's try it.
Well, how do you make the jump from like singing in the car, your friend suggesting American Idol, putting a video on YouTube, to where you're at now?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Like, I didn't know anything about like the music industry or like how to do it or whatever. So like all I knew was to just start using the internet and my uncle, who I just told you about, set me up with some vocal lessons. And so I just kind of started taking some vocal lessons and just putting stuff on YouTube or whatever. And that's how I started. And then a whole year went around when I was living in Pittsburgh. I moved back to Florida and I started a band. And we just started playing clubs and bars and everything like that. And cover songs eventually turned into original songs. And we toured all over Florida and Georgia and that whole deal for about a good 4 or 5 years. And we did very, very well and got to kind of a ceiling, you know, where you can't really go any farther than Florida allows you to go, you know. So we just we ended up, me and my wife now decided to pack it up and try Nashville, and we've been here for like 3 years.
Well, and you mentioned your wife. I got to take a second here to wish you guys a happy first anniversary. This is a couple weeks ago, right?
Thanks, man. Yeah, man. It was, what's today's date? It's like the 25th. It was on the 18th, so a few days ago.
Nice. Congratulations, man.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So was that kind of when you moved to Florida? Was that when you, is that kind of like when you decided that music was what you wanted to do for a living?
So, yeah, when I moved back to Florida after that whole year of being in Pittsburgh, like I said, like I was pursuing football in high school, and you know how it is. You're young and dumb. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make it. And so, kind of put all my cards in there, and then I ended up putting all my cards in music.
There you go. I'd say the music thing's working out okay for you.
Yeah, man, it's going well. We're climbing the ladder and grinding and everything. But when I moved back to Florida, I think I kind of knew like I was definitely going to give it my all and see what could happen.
Well, so how does living in those two places, like those are Florida and Pittsburgh, strike me as very, very different places. How did living in each one of those places kind of shape the sound that you have?
Man, I guess I'm not so sure that Pittsburgh influenced the sound. Living in Pittsburgh influenced the sound so much, but I think Florida probably did a little bit because when I started playing in a band in Florida, that whole scene down there that I was in is very rock. I mean, it's like it was hardcore rock. There was no country acts hardly at all. And so we kind of had to figure out a way to, you know, be able to play those same clubs that those rock bands were playing and stuff. And luckily that same time, like, you know, the Jason Aldeans and the Eric Churches were hitting. So we were just playing that stuff and people were like, we're digging it. And ironically and luckily enough, like that's the stuff I love anyway. I love rock. I love country. So I think that definitely formed an even more love for rock for me. It was just rocking out on stage down there a whole bunch. And with that new sound that I was telling you about earlier, I think we're heading that way again.
Well, so is that, you know, would you say that like Eric Church and Jason Aldean and those kind of guys are where you pull your influences from, or is it somebody, you know, more true country like Alan Jackson?
I would say definitely Jason Aldean. To be honest, like he's one of the main reasons why I wanted to start singing in the first place. Because I always loved rock. I'd always loved country. And all of a sudden this guy comes around and he's playing these AC/DC licks in these country songs. I'm like, yo, that's crazy, man. I want to do that.
But I think you definitely hear it in a lot of your music where it's more on the rocky side.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with this new stuff that we're going to be rolling out here soon. Whenever I first moved to Nashville, I just kind of fell into I just want to write and see what works and record what works. And I did that for a little while. And I think that's easy for anybody to get into when you move to Nashville. You just want to do what works and, you know, see if it can strike attention. But I just got to the point where I was just like, you know what, man, like I'm going to go back to my roots and rock out and see what happens.
Well,
so
you talk
all
about
the new stuff.
You talk about going back to your roots a little bit. I mean, like you've got a distant cousin that I think most people would know about.
Man, I do. It's funny. I don't bring that up a whole lot, so I give you props. That's awesome. Yeah, man. I love the fact that he's a distant cousin of mine. He's all over the Country Music Hall of Fame. Talking about Roy Rogers. I remember the first time going into the Country Music Hall of Fame, and I think he's literally the most seen artist in there, or
he's got to be,
one
or
of
at least
one
close.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was everywhere. I was like, this is cool, man. So yeah, definitely. I've been told a few times that I kind of look like it too, which is
Okay,
interesting. I'm
I
like,
could
oh,
see
that's
that.
kind
I
of
could see
nuts.
that. Do you ever get the inspiration, like just when you're up there playing and you're not sure, just one of those times you're sitting somewhere playing along? Do you ever get the urge to play some Roy Rogers, like Happy Trails, something like that? Just bust it out in the middle of a show
I
one
mean,
time.
yeah, no, I
No.
actually haven't done that yet. Guys, like when it comes to legends like that, I don't know, like everyone looks at it differently. I guess some people play like the legends, but I don't know, man. Sometimes I just feel like the legend stuff is just untouchable, so I don't even try.
Well, and I think that's a good path to take. I mean, there's some people that'll go out
Yeah,
there
like
and play
yeah.
whatever, but I think maybe leaving some guys like Roy Rogers alone probably isn't the
Yeah,
worst thing in the world.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Maybe one day though. Maybe one day.
There you go. Well, and you mentioned it a little bit. You were talking about going out on tour, and I know that you've said in the past that like your first tour ever was your favorite tour. Was there anything about that tour, or was it just finally being able to actually go out on tour?
It was definitely the first. It was definitely just the fact that I was finally able to hit the road. That was the first time I ever felt that feeling of being on the road and playing music and seeing what that was all really like. And of course, on a lower scale, like I wasn't on a bus or anything crazy like that. But just getting that started was just like, yeah, this is cool, man. Like I could definitely do this. So it was definitely the first time kind of thing.
Well, and that really helped you kind of like blow up on social media, which definitely helps people find you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nowadays, man, you can make fans anywhere, but you never can beat the face-to-face interaction. You know what I mean? Just meeting people in person, because it really gives them something to grip onto, and they get to know you as a person, everything like that. So it definitely helped. And just the first 4 or 5 years of me just grinding and playing shows all the time, we pushed social media all the time, and this was back in 2013 when Facebook was like booming, so it was a good time to do that.
Well, I mean, it's definitely helped. I mean, you've got tons of followers out there. Definitely people that I'm sure are looking forward to some new music. And you do have some new music that I guess by the time this comes out, you will have just dropped on Friday. But it's called "Stay Ready." Talk to us about that one. Like, is there a story behind that song? Because it kind of feels like there is.
Man, there definitely is. This song's my favorite song I've released yet, ever. It's the most me I've ever been, musically or lyrically in a song. It's just motivational, and I feel like I'm I like to be motivational to other people. I like to inspire other people, and this song is like I'm living this song, right now, daily. I'm trying to do my best to wake up every day and do everything I need to do to get better, do my vocal exercises, grind and try and make money to push social media and record more songs and all that, just doing everything I can to better my chances of making these dreams that I have come true. And that's kind of what this song is about. It's just all about, just learning to use what you got. And the whole song's a metaphor of driving in real life and how you stay ready in both. And that's what the song is, and I'm just really excited about it.
Well, and I've got a playlist that, like, when I need to get motivated or brush off some of this criticism and get going, that it's just 4 songs that I think this would slide in right there with it. It's Bitches by Mitchell Tenpenny, The Bull by Kip Moore, How Do You Like Me Now by Toby Keith, and then Doubt Me Now by Cody Johnson. I feel like this song can slide right in there and give me a 5th one to add to the rotation, because there's only so many times
those are all killer songs. So yeah, those are all killer songs. So I love that. that's kind of why I recorded it, to be honest with you. Not, I mean, I loved it, but I think I just always thought that it could help people, you know, because it's so easy. I mean, to get complacent and to, you know, kind of stop doing what you need to do.
Well, I think so. And let's do this. Let's let everybody take a listen to it right now. How's that sound?
Heck yeah, I love it, love it.
Here it is. It's called Stay Ready by Grayson Rogers. Take a listen.
I keep my eyes fixed on the highway. I drive it all day. It's never too late. And even when my headlights are broken, my heart is open, so I can keep the flame going till I rise to the top. Learn to use what I got. Once I start, I won't stop when my back's against the road. Yeah, I gotta stay ready. I gotta stay ready. I gotta stay locked and loaded, loaded, yeah. I gotta stay ready. I gotta stay ready. I gotta stay on my toes and keep going. Can't spend my days lost in the shadows, just trying to follow any winding road. But I keep my wheels spinning in motion, so I'll be rolling till my time has come around. Yeah, I gotta stay ready. I gotta stay ready. I gotta stay locked and loaded, loaded, yeah. I gotta stay ready. I gotta stay ready. I gotta stay on my toes and keep going. Gotta stay ready. Build your roots and keep them growing. Trust your heart and keep on hoping with your eyes wide open. Keep your hands out of your pockets and believe in what you're rocking. Cause once you get started, there's no stopping you. Yeah, I gotta stay ready. I gotta stay ready. I gotta stay locked and loaded, loaded, yeah. I gotta stay ready. I gotta stay ready. I gotta stay on my toes and keep going. Gotta stay ready. I keep my eyes fixed on the highway. I drive it all day, cause it's never too late.
And there it is. That one's called Stay Ready by Grayson Rogers. And Grayson, that's got a little bit of a different feel than some of the other songs that you've got out there, like out of these songs and hashtag missing you. This one feels different.
Yeah, it totally does. Like I said earlier, this is the most me I've ever been in recording a song and writing. Like I said, like when I first moved here to Nashville, I was kind of just chasing what I thought the market wanted, you know what I mean? And being in Nashville for the first time and like not really knowing how it was, I was like, all right, let's just write these, you know, country pop tunes because that's what's working and all that. And don't get me wrong, like I like that stuff, but I was never like fully, completely happy with the music myself because it just wasn't completely me. They're all good songs. The people that I wrote them with, they killed it. But this song, man, is like the most me I've ever been in my music, hands down.
So is that kind of what we can expect moving forward? Is more songs like this, more of the true Grayson Rogers kind of a thing?
Absolutely, definitely. I promised myself that there's no guarantee in this. There's no guarantee in anything in life, but especially in music, man. Like there's just no guarantee of success, and that's just the honest truth. So I just decided, man, like if there's no guarantee in success, then I'm just going to be me rather than do stuff and pretend to be someone else artist wise. I'm just going to be me. So this is definitely like, I mean, the sound, you know what I mean? Like, obviously not every song is going to be like in your face, but the sound and the production and the whole kind of feel is moving towards the Stay Ready vibe for sure.
Well, and I think I've learned that a lot, going through and doing this podcast, that there's a lot of that push when you first get to Nashville to kind of write what you hear on the radio and write what you think other people are going to like. And it always seems that everybody eventually goes back into what they want to hear because, I mean, after all, it is just music.
Right. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I mean, I've had so many people tell me that when they've heard my story recently, is like, that's what everyone falls, like, you spend like the first 2 or 3 years, like, just writing what you think the labels will want to hear. And after like, no success or very little success, you get to the point where you're like, dude, I'm just going to write what I want to write. And
that seems to be what ends up, pushing people over the top as far as being happy and then actually getting somewhere when they start writing what they want to write.
I think so, man, because I mean, like, whenever you're yourself in your music, no one can be you. And they can always try and copy you, but if you're just yourself, then you're unique and you're different than everyone else. Whereas like people are copying, then you're just given lesser versions of, like when Florida Georgia Line came out, like they were their thing, and then you had a bunch of other artists come out and not that they didn't work, but I just felt like the labels were just pushing out lesser versions of FGL, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I think this is a good time for you to find yourself because it seems like country music itself is trying to find what that next sound is. We had the 90s country with the women, and then we moved into, kind of the early 2000s where it was very American heavy, which is, I mean, that's not a bad thing. And then you get into the kind of the bro country range, but I think they're kind of trying to figure out what's going to be the next sound to come out of Nashville. And I think it's a good time for you to put your stuff out there. Maybe, the next sound is the Grayson Rogers sound.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, for sure. Like, and I think the most recent one's probably been the whole pop vibe.
Yep.
With the snap tracks and stuff. And I think they're actually starting to get out of that now. And I think you're right. They're trying to figure out where they're going to go next. So yeah, man, I mean, I would love it if it was Grayson Rogers sound.
Well, and I have to ask you a question because you're in Nashville, and it's something I've noticed in song lyrics recently. Is there a lot of 2-for-1 alcohol specials down there in Nashville? Because I can't find them anywhere else, but they are in every other country song.
There are so many 2-for-1 specials in Nashville. All
really?
The time. You can go to any bar on, I don't know about Broadway because I'm not on Broadway a whole lot, but I'm on Demonbreun Street, which is like the local street where the local people go, the songwriters and stuff play their rounds. And 2-for-1s all the time. Like it's like if you're on stage and you're singing, the bartenders need you to like tell the people their 2-for-1 deals, whatever alcohol or drink it is.
Apparently, I'm going to the wrong places then.
It's a real thing, man, for sure.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad that it's not just like one of those lyric traps that everybody falls into. Like it's an actual thing that they're singing about.
It's definitely an actual thing. It's been more kind of recent. I've noticed, but it's definitely a thing for sure.
Well, so let's talk about that. You talk about the local street, where you go to your writers' rounds. What does your songwriting process look like? I mean, do you start with a melody or a lyric or a title, or are you just in the shower with a notepad sometimes?
Yeah, it's for me, it's different all the time. Like I kind of have a circle of songwriters that I write with. I've kind of been blessed enough to find really talented writers here in town that like me and like writing with me. So I usually will have an idea or, some sort of like guitar feel, and then I'll shoot it to one of my songwriting friends and see what they think, whoever I'm writing with most recent. And And a lot of times they'll take it and then they'll do stuff with it. And then I'll go to the right the next day. And then there's already like a whole kind of thing set and a mood and a vibe set. And then we just kind of expand on that. And that's kind of been my most recent, like I said, like it differs all the time, but that's been my most recent process.
So when you get a song, something that that's going to be your song, is it something that you take out and you play at a writer's round first, or do you bust it out at a show, or do you throw it down and record it first? What's the first way that you get that out to people so that you can kind of gauge what the reaction is?
For me, it's social media, for sure, definitely. Like anytime I write a new song, like I like to go on my Facebook and do a Facebook Live, or post a video on Instagram and just see the comments and see what they say. And a lot of times my caption will be like, what do you think, or whatever. And the people that follow me are like pretty honest in a good way. Like they'll be like, yeah, I like it, but I like this one better. And so I kind of use them to help me kind of choose.
That's always an easy way to do it when somebody's like, yeah, I kind of like this sound better.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like social media and the internet is just like a huge tool, so I just like might as well use it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And you use those people that follow me and care about my career and me as a person, and get their opinion, because ultimately they're the ones listening to it, so.
Well, and I think it says
Definitely.
a lot about the way that you've kind of built your fan base up, that you understand what social media is and how to use it. I think there's a lot of artists and really creative people out there in general that don't understand the way that the internet works and how you can use it to your advantage by not doing a whole lot but still being able to get that out to people. I mean, have you found that that's really just the easiest way to find new fans and to get that music out there is social media? Definitely,
man. Like nowadays it's so expensive to tour, between, the van or the vehicle and the band you have to pay. And sometimes the show or the venue you're playing doesn't provide hotel rooms. And so like that used to be the only way you could make fans. And now, like, especially now, because venues don't really like to book unknown artists as much anymore, we've been noticing. So it's a lot harder to get the club gigs and stuff like that if you're not on the radio, if you don't have millions of spins. So definitely social media is like a huge tool for sure. Definitely.
And I've kind of noticed that artists now, they go one of two ways. They either go extremely radio heavy, where they're pushing everything that they can to radio, 5 or 6 singles a year over to radio to try and get noticed somewhere, or they take the path that you're doing and they go, okay, we'll just do it our own way. We'll follow the Chance the Rapper model and put our stuff out there and let the fans come and find it their way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely the ways that I've seen since I've been here in Nashville. It's interesting too, because all the artists and songwriters have like different processes and different ways of thinking. But I'm definitely of the mindset of do your own thing and try and build it to the best you can. And hope and pray that maybe one day, a label comes along and they want to help you take it to that next step. But if not, then at least you have some sort of, music career that you can live on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is the power of social media that people don't realize, is that, there's ways to make money out there doing music that don't necessarily involve touring around the country and hooking up with a major label. That there's ways to do it just like the way that you're doing it.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I would love to have a label come on one day. You know what I mean?
For sure. For sure.
I do think that, there are people here in town. I hear people be like, "Oh, I never won a deal." It's like, okay. Like, I mean, I guess I get it, but at the same time, like, there's only, I don't know, I could think of a handful of people that have taken it really, really far without a label. Like, it's super hard. I feel like you can only take it so far, and then you need some kind of distribution help or radio help or label help or something to get you that boost.
Well, and I think a lot of people see like what happened with Taylor Swift, where
Yeah.
obviously that was a big deal when her music got sold to Scooter, but that's not the majority of what labels do, and I think you do get some people that get wrapped up in that and just totally miss the positives because of the negatives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you
Definitely.
see
like,
that same kind of thing as you're talking to people down there?
Yeah, sometimes, and you also people always like to take like a one instance or one circumstance of something, and they're like, oh, well, this happened for this person. It's like, well, yeah, like one out of like how many? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, you can't be like counting on that, So I definitely hear people say that kind of stuff all the time. It's like, I'm trying to think of an example. I can't really, but it's just like you can't be looking at other people like that and be like, oh, well, that could happen to me. I mean, it could, but more than likely it won't.
Yeah, right? Like,
you know what I mean? Like, you got to do your own thing.
no, sometimes like you're doing now, you gotta blaze your own path, go back to your own sound, and just see what happens. And hook up with who you need to hook up with to make sure that you get what you need. And you're right. I mean, sometimes you end up like Taylor Swift, but that's one person out of how many people were on that label that got help.
Yeah, exactly. How many people on that label that got shelved or what else? It's a hard business, man. But it could definitely be rewarding. Absolutely, I really believe that.
Sure. Well, and you are right in the heartbeat of everything country music, so you kind of see that. And I think being in Nashville sometimes is a little bit underrated by people when it comes to the music business. But so how long have you been in Nashville now?
So we've been here, almost 4 years. So probably a little over 3.5.
So have they converted you from being a Steelers fan to being a Titan fan yet?
Never, man. We were just actually at the preseason game last night, and I was cheering away for my Steelers. I've been watching the Steelers since I was 2, man. That ain't ever changing.
See, that's the way to do it. I mean, when you pick a team, that young, you got to stick with them no matter what, no matter where you live.
Yeah, exactly. I am diehard, big time.
So
I think it's on my Insta story of last night. Like you see, like some things, me like screaming. No shame.
That's the way to do it, though, and it helps that Tennessee's in the AFC also. So then you get to see the Steelers a little bit more often.
Exactly.
You don't have to go that far.
Definitely.
But before we get into what we call the final 4 questions here, I want your prediction as a Steelers fan. What's going to happen this year with them?
I love it. I think my guys are very underrated this year because of all the AB drama and the Le'Veon Bell drama and all that. And I think they're gonna surprise a lot of people. I think they're gonna go 11-5, deep playoff run.
Ooh. So
are you
worried about Cleveland at all?
So much hype about the Browns right now, man.
Yeah.
But it's like when you have that many stars on a team, it's tough,
Well, that's for sure. I've got a friend here in town who is the biggest Cleveland Browns fan ever, but I feel like they all say that. I feel like every single one of them thinks that they're the biggest fan ever. But all he can talk about is how good they're going to be this year. And I'm like, you haven't been paying attention to the rest of that division, especially Pittsburgh, because they could be really good this year.
Yeah, man. I mean, we were at the game last night, and our defense was fast. They were flying around. I was like, finally, we have a fast defense again. We've been slow for so many years now after Troy Polamalu retired, and we finally have a fast defense. So that being said, we are very underrated, but I think we're going to shock the world. And I think Cleveland's going to be good. Don't get me wrong. They could make the playoffs, but it's Cleveland.
Right.
Like they're not going to the Super Bowl. I'm sorry.
No, and see, here's my problem, though, because I'm a Mariners fan. And
Yeah.
I have a problem if Cleveland makes it to the Super Bowl before the Mariners make it to the playoffs.
Before the Mariners.
That's
totally,
the end of my world.
I could totally see that. That makes complete sense. Absolutely.
But Grayson, here, before we let you go, man, we do the same. We end every podcast the same way. We call it the final 4 questions, and these might be the toughest questions that I ask you the whole time, just because they're going to make you think a little bit. And a lot of people have some trouble with these ones. Okay, so here we go.
All right, so that makes me feel better already.
Yeah. So here's the first one. What's your favorite venue that you've ever played in?
Man, that's.
I told you they're not easy.
So when you say venue, do you mean like any show, or do you mean like a? Because I've played a lot of festivals that are cool, but they're not really considered venues.
Yeah, just like your favorite place that you've ever played at. So it could be a festival, a venue.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite shows I ever played was honestly one of my first ones I ever played. I think it was my 4th gig ever, man. And I got to open up for Sarah Evans, and I think it was a crowd of like 7,000 to 8,000, and I just remember sitting backstage, never performing for a crowd like this in my life, and I remember the MC on stage, and he asked the crowd about like, "Are you ready for Sarah Evans?" And this was right before I went on, and I just heard this roar, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I got like butterflies like I did in high school football, like pre-kickoff. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, this is insane. And that was definitely the moment I was like, man, I definitely want to do this forever. And so I think the whole crowd in that moment that I had backstage combined was definitely like a show to remember.
Okay, I can see that. That's definitely, I mean, I can see why that would be a good one for you. How about this? What's the best show you've ever been to that you didn't play at?
Oh, Chris Daughtry.
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, man. I am obsessed with Daughtry. Obsessed. I when he was on American Idol, I was like 11 and I watched him, and I've went with him everywhere in his career. So Daughtry, and he kills it live. Kills it.
Okay, how about this one? If you could play anywhere in the world, where would it be? Any venue or festival or anything?
Oh man, there's so many. But I mean, I think the Opry's a pinnacle.
Okay.
Moment in a career. Definitely the Opry. Walking on that stage for the first time and knowing all of the artists that have been on that stage. Definitely.
Well, yeah, and standing in that circle, I feel like has some magical capabilities.
Oh, I can't even imagine. It'd be insane.
Okay, here we go. Last question. If you could share a stage with anybody or share a bill with anybody, alive or dead, who would it be?
How about am I allowed to go alive and dead, or do I have to pick
Yeah,
one?
go ahead. Give us both.
All right. So, alive, Daughtry.
Of course.
And dead, man, probably Johnny Cash.
Oh, that's a good pick.
Yeah, probably Johnny Cash. He's my favorite legend.
There you go. That is a good pick, man. Well,
yeah, it'd be insane.
Hey, man,
maybe one day in heaven.
There you go. There you go. Well, thanks, man, for jumping on here with us. It's been a blast.
Dude, love doing these things. Anytime, man. Anytime.
So where can people find Stay Ready? Let's start there.
Yes. So Stay Ready is available everywhere on Spotify, on iTunes, on Google Play. However you listen to your music, it's there. But the easiest way, I guess, you can go to graysonrogers.com, and it has all of my music platforms right up top.
Okay, and what are your social media handles?
graysonrogers.com, and all of my social media handles are also up top.
Well, there you go. It's that.
Like you could just go right. You can just go right to the homepage and click the Instagram picture, and there it is.
Boom. Just like that. I love it. And we'll make sure to to put all that stuff out there as well. Well, Grayson, thank you for jumping on with us, man, and we really appreciate it. We'll have to have you on in the future.
Dude, appreciate you having me, man. Had a blast.
Absolutely. And everybody, before you leave, be sure to hit that subscribe or follow button. And, you're listening to the Tea Party Podcast, where you find new friends and new music like Grayson Rogers. We'll see you in the next one.